May the Force guide you to the like button. Alright, so I just got finished playing Star Wars Jedi Survivors after waiting a long 2 years to play it in 2025. And the reason why I did this was simple. I wasn't too fond of Jedi Fallen Order. I thought the game was okay. I actually did finish it. I just felt like I had some animosity with Cal Kestis' run gate. The way he ran just didn't mesh well with me, and that was enough to take me out of the immersion of Star Wars Fallen Order. I know it seems silly, but we all are different. Different things bother different people. With that being said, I spent a whopping 40-ish hours, maybe like 43 hours playing Survivor, and I must say it's a great improvement over Fallen Order, practically in every single way. So this is gonna have no spoilers. I played the game late, so I wouldn't appreciate anyone spoiling it for me in their review. Now you might see some visuals that may put certain things in context that might trigger your mind towards a spoiler, but it's not intentional, and I apologize if any of that happens. With that being said, I implore you, play your game late and avoid all the trailers. You will be pleasantly surprised with how much fun you're gonna have, because I had a blast with Survivors. So, on to my likes. The Photon Saber, aka the lightsaber combat in this game was fantastic. I love being a wielder of the lightsaber. I feel like the combat is much improved from Jedi: The Fallen Order. Fights feel less fidgety, remember I talked about that run gate, and more substantial. Chaotic in every way. Just nothing like switching between the stances and throwing people off of cliffs. I was addicted to that. It's nothing like swinging around your lightsaber, deflecting bullets back at stormtroopers' domes. There's nothing quite like that. So I really enjoyed the combat in Jedi Survivor. Again, I feel like it's a big improvement over Fallen Order. Fallen Order, there's just a certain wonkiness to it, and a little bit of that is still here, and I will get more into that in my dislikes. So the stances, I think, add a lot to the game. I ended up playing with every single stance and respecing maybe once or twice. But for the most part, I enjoyed the single stance the best because it made me feel like a classical Jedi warrior, you know what I mean? I feel like some of the stances were okay. I wish the blaster stance was a little bit better, a little bit more impactful. I felt like I was getting my ass kicked by a lot of the heavier enemies, and I understand that that stance is not meant for those enemies. So I dig it. I dig it. The stance that everyone talks about, the cross guard stance, that Kylo Ren cross stance, I think that stance is pretty badass. It's pretty dope. But there's just one caveat to that stance. It feels too heavy. It feels too heavy. I'm used to seeing lightsabers being zipped around like zoo, 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 zoo. I'm used to seeing that and not like more like the Hawk and Buster sword. But no, Cloud is pretty fast. I love Cloud, man. But at the end of the day, I just felt like being able to use the lightsaber as a boomerang, deflecting bullets and doing all that stuff, it just felt more natural with a single lightsaber, kind of like Luke, you know? So I had to stick with the single stance. Customizing Cal Kestis, the lightsaber, in BD1. For some weird reason, I got very hooked on customization. Ironically, this might be my favorite part of Jedi Survivor. Might be. The amount of materials, part types, and colors you can combine kept me customizing for hours. A workbench was like my kryptonite to exploration. So I'll admit, I didn't have the patience to go after every single customizable item because of my main gripe with this game. The amount that I did collect, I felt like I had a large palette, a large array of things to choose from to make Cal Kestis the way I wanted to play Cal Kestis. And I think this is a far cry from the options they had in Fallen Order. I wanted a Midwestern hippie style, but not really hippie style, but more like eco-conscious Cal Kestis. and not so much like a clean cut looking guy. I wanted a beard. I wanted the long flowing red locks. I wanted that, you know, and I was able to achieve that. Now, there is one caveat with customizing that I must say, and this is a problem that I have with the great allure of Star Wars. Okay, the fashion in Star Wars I think is dope. I'm watching Andor. I like a lot of the senators. The regalia looks very royal and it looks very nice. However, I will say this, Jedis look a little bit too tree huggery for me. A lot of the browns and the tans and stuff, yes, I like wearing that as a middle-aged man in real life. However, if I'm a Jedi warrior, I kind of want something more cooler looking. I feel like that's the one problem I have with Jedi. I love the Jedi are cool, right? However, I feel like compared to the Sith, nah man, nah, they're just not as cool looking. They just don't look as cool. And I struggled so hard to make Kyle look like a beast. I couldn't do it. I couldn't make him look like just like a savage Jedi, you know? I watched The Acolyte, and the main Sith in The Acolyte, man, it just made me think like, damn, man, like, when are Jedi gonna look like that? Like, when are they gonna be as badass? Kylo Ren, you know, they got Darth Maul, they got Vader, we got Luke Skywalker, and Yoda. Yoda is cool, Grogu is cool, or whatever. I'm surprised I'm remembering these names, given that I'm a casual Star Wars fan. I had a lot of fun though. Here's one thing that I adore in this game, and I know it's gonna seem a little weird because a lot of reviewers probably didn't even point this out. I like the rustic rust and old tech that's within Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Walking around these environments look like they were lived in. I love how everything in this game has a worn, used, rustic look. Whether it's the tech, which feels like it has 80s DNA embedded in every button, or the interior environments. The game nails the lived-in aesthetic. That is very important when you're talking about places that are relics of the past, hundreds of years old. I really dig that. I love the textures probably more than a lot of other things in this game. Leather looks like leather. Metal looks like metal. Iron, gold, they reflect the way they should reflect on everything. Cloth is I think, a huge plus in the fashion within Star Wars, and the way cloth is handled in this game is top tier. It is stellar. So this adds a sense of time and a sense of realism within this sci-fi world, right? Something Star Wars has always been very, very good at. The environments to this game are some of the best Star Wars environments I've been in. And we didn't have like a ton of planets to go to, but the planets that we did end up exploring, I felt like they were beautiful and well thought out. Whether you're on some kind of space station, on a planet, running through that old classic Star Wars hallway, or you're on some planet with rocks and trees and more nature, natural-esque planets, alien and unlike our world, and I really appreciate that. I gotta give a shout out to the wildlife in this game. I don't know what it is about games, but I tend to really like the endemic life in things all over. And I feel like here, a lot of the endemic life had a lot of character that I wasn't expecting. So I would just kind of sit there and observe them to see what they're gonna do, and they would do some of the funniest things. Getting around on the endemic life was also equally as fun to me. I really like the creatures that you get to interact with. Even though it's not that many, I still felt like each of them were unique enough to provide a pretty cool experience, and I really appreciate that. Last thing that I really liked about Star Wars Jedi Survivor was the pacing and the narrative of its story. I thought it was really good. I really, really like the way this game ends and wraps up. I like all of the characters. I thought they were really done well. I really like the antagonist. I just think it's really, really good. Without spoiling anything, let's just say this one ends on a pretty damn good high note. And I don't mean that in terms of feeling good. I mean that in terms of just feeling something. And I felt at the end of this game, and I was really good. That's all my likes. Now let's get over to the Sith side, those dislikes. Oh, wrong character. Okay, I should probably take off the Yoda mask in honor of Yoda because it's getting hot and it's making the side of my forehead sweat. And I don't like sweating on camera because I look ridiculous. This is the biggest thing I hated about this game. I hate the navigation in this game. There is no compass. There is no dotted line to where you're supposed to go. There is no indication of where an objective is in a world that is very beautiful yet complex. This game does not have the audacity to give you the Jedi mind knowledge or power or whatever to direct you in the goddamn right direction. And it got on my nerves. Okay, no mini map. Yeah, I don't know, people are gonna say, but Jabu, man, you just talked about Expedition 33 and how you were okay with not having a mini map in that game. Okay, yes, I was okay with not having a mini map in Expedition 33 because I felt like the environments were smaller, they were more compact. Like I barely got lost. And honestly, I felt like the world was just so interesting that I just kind of navigated myself. But in Star Wars, there are things everywhere. There are things you gotta climb under. There are things you gotta scale, wall run, double jump, dash to get through. And it just crushed my immersion every time I had to pathfind my way to an objective that was not easy to find via that complicated ass Metroid-esque map. It drove me mad in certain places. I felt like there was this one time I just kept running in circles trying to get to the main objective. And honestly, I like exploring, but don't make me feel like a lab rat in a maze. Don't do it, because it is just crazy. I don't care how beautiful your environments look. I don't care how cool your combat is. If I don't know where to go and I'm running around in circles in your environment, it's gonna pull me out of that. It's gonna pull me out of your world. And I don't wanna be pulled out of your world, right? And to make matters even worse, I am a options hog, right? I love accessibility features. Sometimes I get hand pain, so when it comes to certain things like QTE, I'll put on automatic or just hold a goddamn button. I don't feel like mashing. These are 42-year-old hands and they've seen enough. They've done enough. So the fact that in the accessibility option, right, they have wait, I gotta laugh. The fact that they put a freaking accessibility option that's called navigation assistance. The guys who decided to make this game decided to just have an audio ping, kind of like sonar, like we're bats out here, to try to figure out where we're going. So I will be running around, doing the cool Cal Kestis stuff, and all of a sudden I hear bing, and I'm just kind of like, okay, what is that supposed to mean? What direction am I supposed to go? Apparently it means you're headed in the right direction, but what they're not telling you is these worlds and these levels are as complex as a plate of spaghetti. So it is very hard to figure out which exact direction you're supposed to go based off of the sonar technology that they're trying to embed in this game. So navigation, it got me frustrated. It got me really frustrated. And because of that, I just stopped looking for cosmetics. I stopped doing a lot of the side stuff because I am not going to sit here for another 2 hours trying to get to this stupid chest. And you know what they do that I really like? They give you something that mark all the chests. I love when games do that, but they don't tell you how to get there. You just got to kind of figure it out. And I guess, yes, if you want to spend 300 hours, you know, walking around on these planets looking for extras, then if that's your thing, that's your thing. But for me, I think it definitely pulled me out of the world. Let me know what you think for those who play the game. The next thing is not so big of a deal. It's not so big of a deal, but it bugged me. I said earlier that I really like the narration in this game. I feel like the story is good, the character is good, the ending is really good. Now, there's this one thing that really bothered me, right? And that was simply the pop-in within the cutscenes. Sometimes I'll be in a cutscene and Brode or another character would just like pop into frame. And that would like take me out of that cutscene, because the cutscenes are are in fact very gorgeous. They're beautiful cutscenes. The graphics in this game, I think they're done very well. I played on a PlayStation 5 Pro and it looked stellar. It looked great, right? But again, when you are watching a cutscene and it's getting very dramatic and it's pulling you in, and then a character just appears stage left, that can be very, very immersion breaking in a very bad way. But it's just a small thing because it didn't happen like all the time, but it happened enough for me to notice it. So the last two are about the combat, right? So the camera in corners. There's a lock-on system here that wigs the hell out as soon as you get near a corner, right? You can't see nothing. You can't see what's going on because the camera is trying to figure out where the hell it should be in the frame. That can really, really, really mess up a good fight. There were some fights I felt so badass. I was just doing my lightsaber thing and pushing and force pushing, force pulling and all of that. Next thing you know, I get a little too close to that corner and then the camera just starts moving around and I can't tell what's going on. Immersion breaking. That's just not good. This is just a criticism to the overall game in general. Okay, the thing about Star Wars Jedi Survivor that really irked me was when I'm doing my lightsaber thing and I come to finish off an enemy, the physics engine actively goes against the coolness that I am trying to accomplish in my combat, right? What do I mean by that? So I'll be doing my lightsaber thing again. I gotta keep saying doing my lightsaber thing, right? And Kyle would do a cool ass finisher and the creature will end up about 3 feet off the ground from where I killed it. That is immersion breaking. That should have been patched out of that game by now. I spoke to my brother. He also played the game. He enjoyed it. But he told me that when he played it, there were a lot of bugs. And unfortunately, there are a lot of visual bugs that still plague Star Wars Survivor. And here's a sad part, right? Comparison slaps joy right across the jaw, right? But I gotta do it. Right now, I'm currently playing Hogwarts Legacy, right? And in that game, everything feels like it has weight. There's a weight. When I am doing my little magic spells, I feel like the enemies are staying put, right? And when I beat them, they fall properly on the ground and they're not like fidgeting around or they don't seem like they're too light. So I say all that to say this. Everything in Jedi Survivor, I feel needs to add more weight to it. There needs to be more weight because the more weight things have is the more they have presence, is the more they're alive in your world. Within art, we are taught if you're going to paint something, you make sure that you paint it in such a way that your values, meaning from light to dark, like shading and stuff like that, it illustrates how heavy something is. You know what I mean? And I think that lesson was lost in Survivors. But with that being said, I still think the game is worth playing 100%, especially if you're even like a casual Star Wars fan like I am. I think you should definitely give this game a go, especially currently because it's on PSN Plus Premium. Here is my overall note. If you like Jedi Fallen Order, you will love Jedi Survivor, especially if you're into open world games. Yes, this game is a bit more open than Fallen Order and you can get lost for days. So if you're into that, this is for you. The game is massive, sure. Navigation can be very clunky, foreboding, and straight up demonic. But if you're into Star Wars, you'll have a blast. Like from a blaster. I was trying to be funny on my notes. That was corny. I'm interested to see where the next Star Wars Jedi game goes. I think this time I won't wait 2 years to play the game because I was actually really impressed with Jedi Survivor. I think it's a good game. The combat feels solid, except for the little wonkiness that you will encounter upon defeating enemies, right? If you are a very good cartographer, geologist, if you know how to get your way around a virtual world, you're gonna have a AO time because this game, you definitely need a mental compass to get through some of these environments. That's for sure. For those of you who have no idea who I am, my name is Jabulani Ori. I'm an artist that is a lifelong, what you would call, gamer. I've been playing games for pretty much my whole life at this point. If you would like to see my body of work, you can head over to my website, jahbu.com. If you would like to follow me on social media, man, I really need a post. You can follow me at JAHBU_ART. Until next time, my wonderful, beautiful people, may the Force guide and navigate you to another great game. One love. Peace. Man, I can feel my breath melting my eyebrows. Shit, it's hot in this thing. I don't know. I can't make it through the whole review. I'd rather be Darth Vader.